Hello, and thanks for joining us today for this webinar in our Mobile Application Development Series. My name is Gary Calcott, and I'm responsible for role-based product marketing at Progress Software. In the next 20 minutes or so, we will discuss why modernization of existing application assets is key to enabling your go-forward strategy for mobile. So, first of all, let's talk about the mobile imperative. So mobile is on the tip of everybody's tongue, from CIOs to line of business leads to application developers. Mobility is key for businesses going forward and needs to be factored into application development and delivery. There are no simple answers, but there is a set of sound guiding principles for enabling a mobile development strategy. One aspect of mobile app development is how to leverage existing application assets and make them available to new mobile apps. And that's what we'll be presenting today. So let's take a quick look at our agenda. First of all, we'll take a quick look at some of the business drivers for mobility, and then we'll discuss the importance of finding the right use cases for mobility. Then we'll jump into ways to unlock existing capabilities and assets in existing systems of record. We'll then dive deeper into API patterns and look at an implementation with role-base. Finally, we'll summarize our findings and provide some recommendations. So let's look at what's happening within the enterprise today around mobility. And why is this push in place right now? So this is from a recent IDC study in 2014. And as you can see, most enterprises are looking to empower workers, really in order to improve productivity. Improving the top line is also a goal, as is improving the customer satisfaction ratings. So mobility is really fundamental to achieving competitive differentiation, so really kind of getting away from the pack wherever you are, and it's really unstoppable. And enterprises need to act on this now. So how do we find the killer use case? How do we find those use cases where mobility really gives us the biggest bang for the buck? And really, are all use cases ideally suited to mobility? Well, we think probably not. Some tasks are best left in mid and back office. Some of the great mobility use cases are when data can be made available in the moment and meshed with, for example, location data. So if we have the repair technician on the road and he has his tablet in front of him and he's using this and he's just done something and we know exactly where he is in terms of his location, then we could do some intelligent routing and send him off to do something which wasn't originally on his next port of call, but it's based on where he is right now and the fact that he's probably 10 minutes early. Those are great use cases for really leveraging some of the power inside mobility. So we don't want to be constrained by only linking back to enhanced productivity and efficiency. We also want to be looking at kind of game changers, which can dramatically improve the customer experience and, again, provide ways to differentiate your business. It's worth pointing out at this point that some of these, a mobile UX, UI will likely be very, very different from the desktop experience. So it's limited real estate. It's a different way to present data to the user. You have all of the ergonomics of the device plus the sensors, the telephone, the GPS, location, all these other aspects, which are very, very key, which all need to be well integrated into the mobile app experience. So that's always something which should be paramount in people's minds when they build mobile apps and think about a really good killer use case. But our topic today is really around modernization of existing application systems and assets. So let's briefly discuss where those assets are today. And every enterprise has a number of systems of record. In addition to being the single version of the truth, they also model the core IP and capabilities of the enterprise. And although these systems have a set of powerful characteristics, for example, they're bulletproof, they're tried and tested, and they're highly resilient to failures, they can often be cumbersome, brittle, and difficult to evolve. And also, they're well-running systems, which we don't want to compromise. So a key requirement for modernization is to surface these existing assets, currently housed in systems of record, and make them available to mobile apps. But how do we get there? How do we build this for this capabilities architecture? Well, fundamental to the way we do these things is really the notion of providing a way to digitize the enterprise or really kind of move towards an API-driven economy. And conceptually, we want to put a facade in front of existing system of record capabilities and make them available to mobile apps via an API call. The facade pattern exposes a simple interface to external clients, and the actual implementation will likely be a RESTful API. By delegating the complexity around mediation to the underlying systems of record, the facade API is resilient to change in those underlying systems of record. So from the schematic you can see on the slide, there may be different ways to access those underlying systems for, the RSS feed on the right, or a call via JDBC to get to a database, or a SOAP call to get to some kind of back-end system. And all of that complexity is kind of delegated into the mediation layer. And what we expose to the app, to the mobile app developer and the app developer, is a very, very simple RESTful API, which is very much in line with the way the industry is moving right now. And it's also very central to the way that we actually, the development model which we actually put forward with role-based and role-based mobile in the products today. So let's look at how these things gel together and how they would actually work. So in previous episodes in the series, we've seen the way that in the mobile app builder in role-based mobile, you kind of get your services, which are these RESTful API calls, and then you have to with drag and drop operations, you connect data in the mobile app user interface with data in the service calls, which can be bidirectional, of course. It's very intuitive, and it's simply a matter of kind of, joining things from the left to the right and really sort of moving data around in a drag and drop fashion. Very, very easy and a very simple way to do things. And how do we get to those services in the first place, and how do we do that with role-based? So in this screenshot from the product, you can see that I'm building out a new mobile app. I'm giving it a name. I'm using a template. I want to kind of focus this or target this application to a phone app. And I want to base it on an existing web app called CRM. And the system itself is offering up a number of different views into the underlying system for me. And we're calling them views around, for example, cases, the communication log, the contacts in my CRM, a listing of all accounts, or what's happened in the last 14 days against my accounts. And all I want to look at for this very simple mobile app is I really want to build a mobile app which looks at all existing cases in the system. And I just export that view. When I export that, then the system will actually utilize the JavaScript data object facility to give me that service and make that service available to me as a mobile app developer in the mobile app builder. And all I then have to do is to wire up the data elements in the mobile UI with the data and services which are offered up to me through role-based. So it's a very easy way to do things. And this is one way to kind of export in an API fashion systems and data from underlying role-based systems into role-based mobile. It's all very, very easy, and it's all visual. You don't drop to programming to do this. So in summary, we've looked at the fact that mobile is a key business driver in the enterprise, and it's increasingly a channel which can enable enterprise to differentiate their products and services and thus get ahead of the competition. Core IP is often locked in existing systems of record, and it's key for enterprises to look at ways to identify where those core capabilities are and export them, liberate them, make them available through simple API calls, and move towards this API-first strategy for mobility solutions. One of the challenges we've seen in that space right now is to get to the right granularity for business entities. So a business entity, as we saw in the previous slide, was around looking at all of the cases. So, a set of cases in the system was a set of business entities. It could also be just customer objects. It could be leads in a CRM system, but it could also be something which is computational in nature. It could be something where a mobile app needs to call back into a core backend service and get a result to see how the core backend service will actually score a loan approval. process, or will score a credit request, something like that. So very difficult, very challenging to find the right granularity because we want to reuse these entities across multiple mobile apps. So very, very important in terms of design going forward. And to build these apps, it's really good to have good tooling. You always need good tooling. And we looked at a way to use role-based as a system of record and look at filtered objects and let the JSDO facility really generate those RESTful APIs for you automatically under the covers. And then all you have to do then is to kind of, do the hookup between the mobile app UI and also those services in the back end. So it's a very tight integration between, building a fully customizable mobile app in the mobile app builder and tying those back to RESTful API calls, which could have come from role-based, but they can come from any other back-end system. And typically they're going to be RESTful, and they'll have some kind of API facade, which you may have built yourself outside of role-based. But role-based mobile can easily consume those RESTful APIs. So finally, a call to action. So really, mobility is a great way to differentiate your business. And we'd like you to get started today with looking at inside your existing systems of record, looking at those assets and capabilities, and looking to really start to build the underpinnings for that capabilities architecture where you surface your IP through web standards, through RESTful APIs, and make those systems available to calling apps which are mobile in nature. So leveraging mobility to differentiate your business from the rest. So with that, I'm finished, and I thank you for joining this webinar today. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.